Hey, good people, how you doing? Welcome to episode 19 of 254 Rugby. First episode for the year 2025. A lot of things to look forward to this year. We do have the Rugby Africa Cup where the Kenya Simbas will be playing Uganda in the quarterfinal. That match serving as the kickoff of a pathway to qualification for the Rugby World Cup 2027. We also do have the Kenya Shujaa looking to maintain their streak on the World Rugby Sevens series. Remember, they were relegated for the 2024 season. They returned in 2024-2025. The Kenya Lionesses will be looking to qualify for the Women's World Rugby Sevens series. We also will have the Rugby Super Series, the Safari Sevens, of course, test matches for the Simbas if they're going to be, the Kenya Cup as well. Well, with that long introduction, my name is Michael Kwambo, bringing you 254 Rugby episode 20. And as always, joining me is Walter Orangi, a man I last saw last year. Walter, how is the new year treating you so far?
Thank you so much, Michael. Happy New Year. The year has started off on a slow note, especially being the fact that we actually didn't have games this past weekend. I'd say that I think it's a continuation of 2024 pretty much. It's just the year that has changed in terms of digits.
Yeah, it is just the year that has changed in terms of digits. I'm happy that I am not in a scenario where I have to do reports and write dates because I remember at Kenya Rugby, settling into the new year used to be difficult. You'd still find yourself writing 2022. Kumbe, you guys have moved over to 2023. Well, how's the Christmas holiday for you?
The Christmas festivities came in quite handy. I mean, we all needed that break towards the tail end of the year. I had a few days just to recalibrate, refuel, and also, I mean, have a bit of rest and just look forward to the new year. So it actually came in handy, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the new year with a lot of vigor now that I've had a couple of days off.
Great, great. My Christmas holiday was interesting, eventful. I dislocated my shoulder. I'm still recovering out of a sling right now, but I've got a shoulder strap on it. So movement is a bit difficult. Yeah, that was it. Away from that, there's a team that I support back home. Forget AFC Leopards. Yeah, forget Luanda Villa. This team is called Shinyalu Whalers. It's an initiative backed up by my friend from Kakamega High School, Rhys Mukhabani Mwanian, to give a big shout out to Rhys. They played at the Webuye MTM Sevens. Now, the story of Shinyalu Whalers is interesting. It's just a team within Shinyalu that is not playing in any league, really. It's just like a place where people can keep their rugby skills alive. So in 2023, they played at the MTM 10s and they could only manage to participate on day one. In 2024, they played at the same tournament and got to the cup semi-finals, and we're looking at that as progress. And to everybody who's involved in that project at Shinyalu Whalers, big up to them.
Yeah, lovely, lovely, Michael. That's all about grassroots rugby. Chinyalu, just like many other teams that don't take part in the local leagues, that is where the rugby is. You know, most kids who finish probably high school or who are currently in high school get these opportunities in the local setups. And Chinyalu coming through, and I want to big you up because those are the initiatives that actually develop rugby at the grassroots. So it's important that growth, you can see the curve. They couldn't attend 2 days of rugby the previous year. The next year they made it straight to the semi-final. I mean, that's a remarkable achievement, and yeah, rightfully so. Anyone involved behind the scenes should be getting a pat on the back for a job well done.
Absolutely. And a big shout out to the team that organized the MTM 10s in initially used to be in Webuye, but now was played at the Sudi Rugby Grounds, just opposite the Sudi Stadium in Kandui, just in Bungoma, beg your pardon. Just testament to the growth of the game and the tournament in the region. Big shout out to everybody who's involved in rugby at the grassroots levels, the likes of Dennis Game, Ronald Okoth, the rugby patrons. There is so many. Well, we could go around placating all these gents, but there's things we need to talk to. Let's talk Rugby Africa Cup. It is the biggest assignment for the Simbas in 2025. And as fate would have it, they start their quarterfinal against Uganda. Before we go into that fixture, I always like rubbing this point home. It is refreshing to have the Rugby Africa Cup back on African soil. Yes, Uganda hosting it for a second year in succession. We don't care, but it should never leave this continent again. I think going forward, just change the format of how you play it. I mean, because it doesn't make sense to play such an important tournament over a week. Anyway, having said that, the tournament is back in 2025. Kenya Simbas against Uganda Rugby Cranes, the biggest game of 2025 for both teams. Remember, you win that game, and your path to the Rugby World Cup 2027 continues, because this tournament in Kampala serves as the qualification tournament for Africa for the 2027 Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, yeah, quite. I mean, looking at just one fixture, Michael, and that is Uganda, and that is a fixture that we've really, over the last few years, we've looked at Uganda and maybe belittled them and thought about us being better than Uganda, but this is an opportunity, a massive opportunity for the two countries to get a clear pathway to the Rugby World Cup 2027 qualifiers. And you've said it very well. There's no need for us to play in France a Rugby Africa tournament. I mean, with so much at stake, so much in terms of developing rugby in the continent. And it's good for Uganda to host it once again. I mean, the hosting rights are there for everyone to ask for and actually request. And this actually brings me to the. We might have a conversation later on in the program, but Uganda have done so well. They're doing it twice. This is the second time. It's now about Kenya and us going to Kampala and competing against Uganda. Uganda have their job cut out for them. They know very well that they are the hosts. First and foremost, the pressure now goes onto them to make sure that they win on home soil. Secondly, the pressure then again goes to them to make it a better performance against Kenya, having lost in the Elgon Cup a few weeks ago. And it's an opportunity for Uganda to also look at what they have in terms of their stock, in terms of rugby, in terms of their 15s, and also see how they can develop. Now, for Kenya, it's a big year, Michael. I mean, we have to give it up to Kenya for the simple reason they have to stand up and be counted in the African continent, Michael. Last year we played in the Rugby Africa Cup tournament in Uganda, and it was not a walk in the park. You remember very well, we couldn't win that tournament. So you can tell that we have a job cut out. The Zimbabwe Sable are very, very ready for this tournament. They do understand what it means or what it takes for them to win an African Cup. And coming back again to Uganda, having won the previous tournament, it's a job that we have to do. Then remember, there's also Namibia. Namibia, when once it comes to a Rugby World Cup qualifier year, they know they'll go to their expatriates. They know they'll invest heavily in that program over that 1 year just to make it over the line to qualify for the Rugby World Cup. So the job is cut out for Kenya, Uganda, Namibia, and Zimbabwe, and no better place than Kampala 2025.
And you know what? You talk about Namibia, you talk about Zimbabwe, but there's a dark horse that you are forgetting, the Algerians. We saw them during the 2022 Rugby Africa Cup in Marseille, France, reaching the semi final. That game against the Simbas was hard fought. It ended 36-33 to the Simbas. Going by the trends, I do expect the Algerians to count on their French Legion for this particular tournament. We have had a number of repechage tournaments in December going on, with the likes of teams like Morocco and Tunisia playing also for places in the competition. And I do expect that should they get favorable results and qualify for the final tournament in Kampala, they will also be calling upon their foreign legion. And that means for the Simbas, their work is cut out. So, what exactly you from your point of view do you expect the Simbas to do between now and the tournament in, I think it is in July?
Yeah, Michael, this comes down to our league and how soon we are able to clear our responsibilities at club level, and then hopefully have ample time for the national team to be able to qualify. No, not actually to qualify, to train in camp in readiness for the Rugby Africa tournament. Now, I'm pretty sure that the coaches, having selected, and I'm sure that the coach will not really deviate far from what he's been doing for the last couple of years. Let's give it this last season where you could see the selection and all that. And it's about time now for the coaching unit at the Simbas then decide on what path they take in terms of how we play, who are the personnel, and how soon can we be able to identify who's going to be part and parcel of that team so that we get them ready in terms of their mental stature, in terms of their physical stature. So it's an opportunity for the Simbas. And actually going to the club structure, the Kenya Cup this season has to be a promise for most of the players in terms of their performances. So the league has to provide the team. Now we have to pick the best from the league, and I'm
Okay.
pretty sure that is what other leagues elsewhere do, picking the
Absolutely. Maybe
best
just to,
from.
yeah, maybe just to interject, you talked about the Kenya Cup, but there's also the Rugby Super Series, which I think is part of that pathway. But like you said, the Kenya Cup is a picking point for national team players, probably to boost the existing squad, and then the Rugby Super Series as well, an opportunity for them to play high caliber rugby. But nevertheless, proceed.
Yeah, and speaking of the Super Series, Michael, looking at how they treated the Super Series last season, I want change of attitude, and I'm really looking at a possibility where if they are serious enough, the coaching unit at the Simbas, then they can be able to get the best out of Kenya from the Super Series. But before we proceed, the Super Series was making a return back, and unless otherwise, the Kenya Rugby Union really invests and makes sure that this year's Super Series is as good as we've had some of the Super Series editions in the past. Then I would go myself with a choice from the Kenya Cup teams as compared to choosing from the Super Series. That is dependent on how they treat the Super Series this year. Remember last year we had formations, yes, that came up, but it wasn't as strong as would have expected, and they deviated from choosing players from the Super Series last season. So I'm not sure about how they're going to treat it this season, but I'm hoping that they can pick the best out of the best, put them in franchises, and then decide from there who they're going to pick in terms of the national team. So the job is really cut out in terms of the national 15 aside. I mean, Kenya Cup is going to offer the best platform in terms of keeping the players fit over the next couple of months. It's going to give them a platform for them to actually exercise a bit of the technical input that they've received over the last couple of months playing for the Simbas. So, and I'm also looking at an opportunity where the best players in our locals Kenya Cup League get an opportunity, Michaels, so that we tend to take away that decision that the coach has to make in terms of who to choose because people might say he might be biased towards one specific club and all that and for you to shy away from such politics, I think we need to go statistically in how we approach our selection and provide tangible numbers that are going to back up selection for the national team.
Yeah, let me just throw a bit of a joke in there. I'm not too sure if it's a joke, but just something that would probably elicit reactions. You know, you talk about, going statistically in terms of selecting players for the national team. What if these statistics are dominated by players from three clubs? And let me just name the three clubs: KCB, Cabras, and Menengai Oilers. Are we still going to say that now we need diversity and inclusion in the team, or are we going to go for the best of the best?
Michael, at the end of the day, you have to pick the best of the best. And all those players that you mentioned will definitely make a way into one of the franchise or some of the franchise teams. Now, what happens to the rest? This is where Super Series then should be able to help us. And also, Michael, we are not an isolation. Games are played on a Saturday afternoon, and a coach that is serious enough to go and pick a player from a specific team will make a match day decision and walk to a venue, watch the game, make a decision later on if or not this is a player who's capable enough to make their match day team. So I think the job is cut out for them. And mostly this goes down to investment. I think the Kenya Rugby Union, being a World Cup year, this has to be a year where we put in money into the programs, where you have the players and the coaches, actually, specifically the coaches, having an opportunity to go out and watch and scout and keep an eye on the players that they feel are able to offer something for them this year. So it's all about planning, it's all about execution, and it's time for the union to stand up.
Allow me to push back on that statement about investing in a World Cup year. Why are we investing in a World Cup year? Why can't we invest 2 3 years before? Because heading into the World Cup qualification year, it's pretty much you want instant coffee. Why don't you brew that coffee over a period of time? That means early investments, early scheduling of fixtures and training camps and so on and so forth. But like you said, it all boils down to planning. You know, Walter, we could talk about the Simbas and the World Cup preps for a very long time, but thankfully it is January. We will. How about we make it something that we do every week when we're on 254 Rugby. This is the first episode of the year. Let's move into Kenya Sevens. They started their campaign on the World Rugby Sevens series. I think they were pretty decent in Dubai and Cape Town. There is a leg coming up in Perth. Key for them in 2025 is to retain their core status and maybe not to sound like a broken record. Like I said, I think they outdid themselves in Dubai and Cape Town. They have their work cut out in Perth. What do you think the team can achieve not only in Perth but going forward?
Michael, the Kenya Sevens team is currently, if you do a graph, you would say they are on an upward trajectory in terms of their performances. Yes, they did play so well, and the competition, as much as the competition is as tough as it is out there, Kenya Sevens really held their own. They played against the top sides. So far, they've played against the reigning World Rugby Sevens champions, that is France. They've played against Argentina. They've played against Australia. They've not met. They played against South Africa, and you could see
And
that.
beaten them. They've actually beaten
And
South
beaten.
Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that can actually show you that there is something for these boys. Now, this year has to be different, Michael. We were shrouded in a lot of issues last year in terms of their remuneration, in terms of their contract issues and all that. And prior to the South African leg, Tony Omondi made his way to South Africa, and I'm pretty sure that whatever was simmering behind the scenes could have been handled. And I'm hopeful that we'll have the return of Vincent Onyala into the frame. Now, this year then means that they already have a squad that they can pick on, a very good squad, a large enough squad that they can be able to pick players from. And I strongly feel that they've not yet hit their peak, just like every other team that is playing on the World Series. Maybe looking into Perth and the next leg after Perth, maybe we can be able to have a look at them and see exactly where we can put them. But it's much as it was opening days and early days in 2024, I feel like the Kenya Sevens team can actually take on 2025 with a lot of confidence. Now, speaking of confidence, what really gives them confidence, knowing that they have their contracts sorted out, their remuneration and their financials have been sorted out. Thankfully, courtesy of SportPesa and of course M-Pesa, that is Safaricom. Now, secondly, they have the coaching unit that has the experience of being part and parcel of the World Rugby 7 Series before, and they are able to handle that. Thirdly, they have the quality of players that they can present to any team on any day and actually compete. So I feel like Kenya Sevens can be able to hold their own this year. The numbers on the log, Michael, it is important for them to be in the top eight and avoid that relegation and promotion battle.
Yeah, and you forgot to add a fourth point, which is they have been in the pits together. Remember when they went down, they had to go through the Rugby Africa Championship in Zimbabwe, where they beat South Africa to qualify directly for the Olympics, and then playing the Challenger Series, qualifying for the World Rugby Series. It's reminiscent of those days when we'd start out in the Eric Shally Shield, and a large number of us would be promoted to the Kenya Cup team together. So it's pretty much that same thing. So I feel there's that bond within them, and I think they know that they are driven by a unity of purpose. Like you said, that playoff in Los Angeles is malaria, and you don't want to go through it. And like you said, finishing in the top eight is imperative for the Shuja squad of 2025, and we do wish them the best of luck. The Kenya Lionesses, Walter, they have been knocking on that door. They are again playing in the World Rugby Challenger Series, and you just feel it's a matter of time before they get onto the big stage. Dennis Mwanja is working his magic with the Lionesses. How do you fancy their chances on the Challenger Series in 2025?
Well, the ladies have, like you said, have been knocking on that specific door, and it would be a beautiful thing to cap our 2025 with the Lionesses qualifying for the World Rugby 7 Series. It's important for the ladies' game for them to keep improving. However, looking at this year, Michael, last year was a bit uncertain for them because remember the funding, which has always been a problem, came through courtesy of M-Pesa, and I really want to thank Safaricom for coming through in a big way for the ladies. Now, that in itself means that our ladies are fully catered for, the selected sides, in terms of remuneration and making sure that the ladies are paid on time. Secondly, they know that their fixtures, they've not had so many fixtures. You see, there's a difference between how we've been handling men and women, and as compared to how we've been handling men, we haven't really done so much for the ladies' games. For instance, looking at these tournaments, the satellite tournaments that the Kenya Sevens or the Shuja team has been able to attend to in the past in preparation for the World Rugby 7 Series. Now, give that to the ladies also, an opportunity for them to play more, play these high level competitions more, compete with the likes of South Africa, the likes of, I mean, the top sides in Africa. We have South Africa who've been a serious thorn in the flesh. We were a whisker away from beating them in the Rugby Africa Cup a few months ago. And it's an opportunity, Michael, a grand opportunity. Now, looking at the stock in terms of the lineup, we have quite a number of young girls who are coming through. I could see a very good side that played at the Safari Sevens. But also we have our experienced ladies, the likes of Grace Adhiambo, Tata, who are also doing very well. You have much as we've lost Shebesh. I don't know if she'll be able to come back to the frame and play as she plies her trade in Japan. So I'm not really sure. But the players that we have locally, we have quite a number of young, talented rugby girls who are coming through, Michael, and no better way for them to be on the World Series than qualifying through the Challenger Series 2025. And I'm really, really interested in seeing how they perform this year.
Absolutely. So am I. I'll be rooting for the Lionesses. We'll be rooting for the technical bench. Dennis Mwanja, Kami, Saimo, Jeff, the guy from Kisian, Onyango, my
Yes.
good friend and the conditioning coach, Levis Kitui. Well, just wishing them all the best. Walter, it's a new year, like we said. there's international rugby to look forward to. Of course, we do have the test matches later on in the year, but the Six Nations is coming up. We do have Super Rugby coming up as well. Maybe just to touch briefly on both tournaments, starting with the Six Nations. The schedule is already out. I'm sure you saw it. Who do you fancy to make an impact in 2025?
Michael, the Six Nations is quite something. I mean, Italy, who've consistently been taking home the wooden spoon, have really improved over the last couple of years. You have Wales, who are currently sitting down below in terms of the pecking order. You have Scotland, who look like they're a top side. They keep on showing glimpses of being good and being a top side, but then once they meet a really good side, they look really ordinary. I would fancy France, and this is why I would give France an opportunity this year. Ireland have are transitioning, and they've lost the likes of Johnny Sexton and company, and now they're using the likes of Crawley at 10. You have Peter O'Mahony and company who are coming to their tail end of their careers. And so Ireland is an aging side which really has to transition now. They really need to look at the next World Cup cycle as an opportunity for them to transition. France, on the other hand, have really transitioned well, Michael. You can tell that they've had a solid team which is not agey. They don't have guys who are really quite old in that team as compared to the Irish side. So it gives them an opportunity once again to compete against the likes of England. Sorry, I beg
And
your
you know the
pardon.
funny thing about
Now,
France, the France have pissed off New Zealand by announcing that they'll take a B side for their tour to New Zealand later in the year. And I did see a New Zealand rugby legend, can't remember his name, saying, "Hey, you're doing us dirty because every time we put out a squad to play, we bring out the best. We must play the best. So this is basically disrespect." But on the flip side, the French are saying, they're trying to give exposure to as many players as possible. And as much as it may seem condescending, it may seem cocky, it just goes to emphasize the point that you're saying that France are really, widening their player pool and looking to give opportunities to as many players as possible.
yes, that decision not to allow a top side to move into New Zealand to play them, it would really hurt, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. It would really hurt. So still, like
Yeah,
you were talking, yeah, you were talking still about the Six
yeah.
Nations. Let's go to Super Rugby. Kicks off on the 13th of February, the 30th season of Super Rugby. Of course, South African teams not involved as they are playing in cross-continent competitions in Europe, the URC, and I forget the other competition, but they've got two competitions that they're playing in Europe. But
That is
still,
the
Super Rugby still is a massive draw for diehard rugby fans.
Yes, it is. The timings are always good in terms of local rugby. You get to wake up in the morning before you go for a match day. You can be able to watch the Hurricanes, or you can be able to watch the Blues in the morning before you head out to play your game in the afternoon. So Super Rugby has always been a darling of the Southern Hemisphere, and it will have so much. It will take so much for you to remove from Super Rugby for us in the Southern Hemisphere not to be able to catch a glimpse of that tournament. Speaking of Super Rugby, Michael, it's just that with the expansion of Super Rugby, bringing in the Pacific nations, you have the Fijian Drua, and you have that team that plays from the Samoan side of the Pacific. It's really important that you can see that the growth is there. The Pacific nations have really contributed so much to rugby, both in Australia, New Zealand, and by giving them that opportunity and consistently they've been able to strengthen. Going away to play against the Drua is not an easy fixture, Michael. It's one of the toughest games you can ever go and play in Suva. Going away to play that someone side is also a very, very big problem. And it means, and you can see they are attracting top sides, top guys. Adi Savea has made his move from the Hurricanes to the Moana side, and you can tell that there is that quality. And there was a story in the media that when he walked in, nobody was speaking. It was really really silent. And then the brother had to tell guys that relax, he's human, and. So it's important that such stories are told, and you can see the growth and improvement. So I'm really looking forward to Super Series this year. I am a big Blues fan, and hopefully we can also dominate once again this season.
Great. And right here in North America, in the States, the Major League Rugby returns for its eighth season, kicks off on February 15th. I personally am looking forward to experience Major League Rugby. Just picked up some information. All 11 teams will play a 16-match regular season, 8 matches home, eight matches away. Teams in the Western Conference will play 8 in-conference games and 8 cross-conference games. And then it will see the Eastern Conference play up to 10 conference games, with the remainder against cross conference squads. The playoff pretty much remains the same. There'll be conference semifinals whereby the best in the Western Conference face off, and then the best in the Eastern Conference face off before the final. Last year, the team that Monate Akwe is on the roster of for last season, the Seattle Seawolves, reached the final. They've won the championship 3 times. They're looking for a fourth one. We'll be waiting to see squad news if he has been retained for the 2025 season. But it definitely is something that I will be looking forward to, and looking to reignite the rugby passion. Now, coming back home, we did have the Safari Sevens and the Rugby Super Series in 2024. It was great to have them. It was great to have the Super Series and Safari Sevens back. I think my wish list for both tournaments heading into 2025 is better planning, better publicity, and of course, improved quality of play on the pitch, and improved quality in terms of services delivered to fans, service providers, and other stakeholders, starting with Safari Sevens, more importantly.
Yes, Michael. It's really important that we get the year running on a positive note. We can talk about this, Michael, the whole day, but we at the end of the day, it comes down to planning and prior planning, which means that it we give the fans an opportunity for them to be able to understand what they're looking forward to. We don't have to ambush the fans in terms of our programming and our planning this year. And I'm hopeful that we can be able to provide what is really needed in terms of giving information, giving away sort of information that really helps build confidence and market events as early as possible. And I'm looking forward to this year simply because I want to really try and see if we can be able to improve on what we've been able to do, Michael. So Safari Sevens is coming up. We have our local seven series. And I think what we need to do as early as possible is make sure that we do prior planning, and prior planning means that we get dates as early as out as possible. We start selling tickets as early as we can, and also try and see if we can be able to market our game to other populations, open up the country, because predominantly we are advertising to the same constituency. How can we be able to now improve our reach? How can we be able to do in terms of our leagues, develop our leagues as well as we can? Speaking of leagues, we have Nationwide Championship and Kenya Cup, which are currently ongoing. So how best can we be able to present these products in the future to the fan and also the corporate world? So Michael, the job is really cut out for us.
Yeah, it is cut out for us. And it's been great. 34 minutes of just talking about stuff away from what we want to talk about. Our local leagues, they resume after the Christmas break. Of course, there is action in the nationwide leagues. How are the Stallions doing?
The Stallions are doing well. We are gearing for this year. We are looking forward to mounting a challenge for the Championship League. The Stallions and Rugby on the Road are literally close to one and the same thing, because the brainchild and the idea behind the two setups are pretty much within the same format. However, we have Stallions who are slightly older and have played in the local league longer than Rugby on the Road played. So we're looking at pushing forward Stallions into the Championship League, and then hopefully nurturing the baby that we have, Rugby on the Road, to follow suit in a couple of months or probably a year or so. But we're looking forward to the seventh season this year, Michael. We're looking forward to lighting it up. I really enjoy sevens. I will put in a lot of investment into the sevens program this year, just to be able to see what we can be able to achieve. I'm also doing a lot of scouting with the Betika Bingo Fest, the under 23 tournament, which is a lovely and a great platform for anyone who's interested in nurturing and developing their clubs. So I'm doing a lot of scouting, just trying to see the players that we can be able to bring forth and introduce them to the world. So watch out for us over the next couple of months as we get ready for the National Seven Circuit.
Absolutely, and all the best in your endeavors. For us at Shinyalu Whalers, we're still working on stuff and just happy nurturing talent and maybe one day, but for now, a step at a time. Now, Walter, let's get into the KRU Championship, the second tier of club competition in Kenya. We're into week 5, and these are the fixtures. I don't have them on the screen, so I'll read them off my phone. Two Marines host Mean Machine in Mombasa. um, Zitek Oaks play USIU Marshals. Catholic Monks are up against the UOE Trojans. Homeboys play Mombasa. Masinde Mliro play JKUAT Cougars, while the Daystar Falcons take on Western Bulls. Starting with the game between Marines and Mean Machine, the venue is yet to be confirmed. Mean Machine, obviously, should this fixture actually take place, Mean Machine obviously have the advantage. They will be looking to get their campaign and their quest for promotion back to the top tier Kenya Cup on track. It hasn't been a solid start for them. And the second fixture will pit Zitek Oaks against the USIU Marshals. That match taking place at the Zitek campus in Mangu. It is a pretty open fixture given the form that both sides have exhibited. I'm actually backing the ZTech Oaks for a narrow win over the USIU Marshals, who just don't seem to have that spark, that flair that they've had in previous years playing in the KRU Championship. The Catholic Monks will play against the UOE Trojans at the Catholic University in Karen. Well, the Catholic monks are on fire, and I dare say that the UOE Trojans will be in need of a prayer. Uh, yeah, they will be in need of a prayer. And silently, one of my prayers has been answered. We had lost Walter, but he's back. And Walter, you're joining me at a time when I had already previewed the Mean Machine versus Tomb game, ZTech Oaks versus USIU, Catholic Monks versus Trojans. So let's jump into Homeboys versus Mombasa in the KRU Championship. Homeboys have begun the KRU Championship season like a house on fire, looking to return to the Kenya Cup. They host Mombasa, of course, the venue to be decided, but away from that, how do you rate Homeboys' chances playing against Mombasa?
Michael, it's going to be a tough one for Mombasa to make the trip to Nairobi. I do have information about where the game will be played. It will be played at the Nondi's grounds, that is on Jamhuri showground. And Mombasa making their way to Nairobi. Remember, Homeboys, having dropped from the Kenya Cup League, do have that fight in them. They have the fire to get back onto the Kenya Cup League, and having faltered in the opening fixture versus Zetech University. They've really put in a string of fixtures and won a couple of really important games over the last couple of weeks. And I don't see them losing this one. I see this as an easy opportunity for them to bag a bonus point at home, facing Mombasa. And it's a daunting task for Mombasa, who have just been promoted from the Nationwide League. Looking forward to maybe stabilizing themselves in the championship league, but playing away to Homeboys is definitely going to be a problem. So that's a bonus point victory for me for Homeboys.
Okay, next fixture Masinde Muliro hosting the JK Watt Cougars in Lurambi, Kakamega. I think this is a straightforward result for Masinde Muliro. They are keen, they are intent on returning to the Kenya Cup. We've seen them register massive scores in their previous outings. I don't expect this clash against the JK Watt Cougars to be any different.
Yeah, it wouldn't be an easy fixture. It's a varsity affair. The two know themselves quite well, but traveling away to Kakamega is always a daunting task, Michael. And it's an opportunity for Jaquad Cougars actually to make a trip to Kakamega and see if they can actually compete against Masinde Muliro. But looking at Masinde Muliro, they are definitely interested in making that return back to Kenya Cup, having narrowly lost to Impala in the final in the semis last year by a single point at home. I'm pretty sure that Asila and company are definitely looking to make that right this season. So it's going to be a tough game for Jay away to Masinde Muliro.
Yeah, and at this point, I just want to give a shout out to my cousin John Asila. Yeah. Anyway, unajua sisi Waluya lazima tutume salamu. Now,
Salam.
yeah. Daystar Falcons are at home to Western Bulls. I just hope Western Bulls can honor this fixture because I am sure that they will take the game to the Daystar Falcons if this game takes place in Athi River on Saturday.
Michael. Well, let's hope that their fortunes have changed this year. Hopefully, they can be able to honor this one-away fixture. But still, much as you'd say they would bring the game to Daystar Falcons at home, Michael, is not an easy fixture for anyone. I saw them play in I think it was the Enterprise Cup, or was it not, or Mwamba Cup. They played against Oilers before we shut down the year last year. And I thought Daystar, much as they played a very experienced side in the Menengai Oilers, they were decent enough. Um, Western Bulls have to honor this fixture first and foremost for them to get points. But I don't really think that they can beat Daystar at home.
Okay, now let's go to the Kenya Cup, and we are back with match day 4. And there's a number of derbies in the Kenya Cup this weekend, starting with the Ngong Road Derby. There's the Nakuru Derby. Well, I think it's those two. Yeah, the Nakuru Derby and the Ngong Road Derby. Let's start with the Nakuru Derby first. Nakuru RFC are home to the Menengai Oilers, two teams with contrasting fortunes in the 2024-2025 season. Nakuru struggling in the lower reaches of the league. The Menengai Oilers are on fire and looking slick after the opening 3 rounds of the Kenya Cup.
Yeah, the daunting task, Michael, for Nakuru RFC. Looking at their fortunes this year on the Kenya Cup League, played four, if I'm not wrong, lost all four, and Oilers
Actually,
played
three,
three,
three.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, played three, lost all three. Oilers played three, won all three. Contrasting, as you've said, results from the two teams. I had a chat today with the chairman Nakuru Rugby Club, that is Agre Omio, and we really talked about in depth on how the Nakuru culture has really transitioned and changed over the last couple of years. And all he told me was they still believe that they are a strong side when it comes to playing at home, competing against the Oilers. These are boys who know each other. Much as Oilers currently the better placed team in terms of standings on the log, they know that they can really man up and offer a challenge to the Menengai Oilers. However, you can only do so much, Michael. on the pitch side. But once you get onto the pitch, the players have to do the talking. So it's important that Nakuru get off the blocks really quickly. They contain Oilers as early as they can. Early days, because I've seen a very hungry Oilers side. And also, the hunger comes in from the fact that most players have moved across from Nakuru to the Menengai Oilers, and most probably at the back of their minds have a point to prove to their former employers. So it's a game that the fans should really enjoy, and we should be rallying people to really make their way to the Nakuru Athletics Club to support either side, because at the end of the day, Nakuru Rugby wins.
Correct. Now, in Nairobi, there is another derby, and this one is the derby of the noisy neighbors. Remember, these two teams are only separated by a fence. They compete for numbers in terms of attendance at their various clubhouses. But away from that, on more serious matters, they also compete for titles on the pitch. Queens and Impala have shared a healthy rivalry. We missed the Ngong Road Derby in the years that Impala were relegated from the Kenya Cup. The first Ngong Road Derby of 2025 is back. Kenya Harlequins looking good. Impala, well, they are rebuilding, will be looking to cause an upset. I do see Queens winning the game. How do you see this game turning out? Of course, away from the attendance on the stands.
Well, the stands will always dictate the quality of rugby. Remember, they are paying funds, and mostly this money trickles down to clubs, and clubs are able to invest and make sure that they have players. Now, Michael, we have two teams here. One is coming back from the Championship League. Another one is looking to stake a claim and say that they're part of the big boys in the Kenya rugby scene. So, and remember, we are fresh from a transfer period where we were expecting Impala to complete the signings that they were intending to make last year. Hopefully, they've made the signings, the likes of Matoka Matoka. There are quite a number of players who are moving away from their clubs to come and join Impala. And this is simply because there is a new dawn at Impala with Louis Kisia taking over, and he is experienced enough to know that Kenya Harlequins offers and poses a threat to his team. Now, these are two teams that are totally different in terms of where they stand at this point in time. Queens have a team that has been training, much as they probably are going to add a few players from the January transfer window. They have a consistent team that has been training and playing for the last couple of games. Impala have a team, yes. In terms of quality, you cannot really say that they match Kenya Harlequins. But on a match day, I'm pretty sure that Impala would give a good version of who they are. However, it's going to be a big task for them to beat Kenya Harlequins at home, and I'm seeing this one as a comfortable Kenya Harlequins victory.
Agreed. I've got a question to ask. Is there any forecast for rain in Nairobi this week, this weekend?
Not that I know of, but it's really been hot in Nairobi, so I don't think there is going to be rain.
Okay, Cabras Sugar coming to town. They're play- um,
We should expect some rain.
yeah, hence my question. They'll be playing against the Strathmore in Madaraka. Cabras, well, they've begun the season pretty much like they ended the previous two seasons on fire, unbeaten. Nothing is going to stop them from racking up win number 4. Sorry to the Strathmore, sorry to Foxy Ojal. It is what it is.
Yeah, and I actually fear for the Strathmore and Michael. I think Cabras have made it a knack. They might have had a few instances in the past where Strathmore really came up strongly against them, and probably are living through that sort of thought where this Strathmore team can either be good on a match day or can be really bad on a match day. So I'm really fearing for the Leos because they've lost their flair over the last couple of years in terms of playing 15s rugby. I know they are very strong in terms of playing the shorter version. They'll always have good players because of their scouting and their network in terms of getting players to come in and get scholarships. And, you know, they can be able to get top players from high schools to come in and join them. However, coming up against Cabras, remember last season, Cabras put in 90 plus against the Leos at home.
Abomination,
And
abomination,
it's
abomination.
yeah, and now this season they are looking good. They're looking to continue that streak up top. And remember that match day two fixture where Impala went and the rain stopped them from playing. They've consistently put points over opponents now just to make up for that loss of that day in terms of points. And remember, the battle up top is always going to narrow down to point difference and also that really narrow point difference that they could have between 1, 2, and 3. That will determine who plays a home semi and who plays the quarters at home and all that. So it's important for the Leos to really, really contain Cabras. But how do you contain Cabras if you can't match them in the forwards and you also can't match them in the backs? So the fear is, can Strathmore Leos reduce the number of points that they're able to concede against the Cabras team that is traveling to Nairobi? That is the biggest question. But this is a comfortable win for Cabras.
Absolutely. Over at the Kenyatta University ground, there is a big game. If you ask me, that is the game to be, the game to watch. Kenyatta University Black Blood against Nondescripts. Both teams evenly matched. I do expect a close contest, and whoever's going to be at KU is in for a great treat of rugby and obviously the passion from those Black Blood fans as well.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, Black Blood will definitely offer much the entertainment. And coming up against Nondis, this fixture, Michael, has really been a very tough fixture for Black Blood. Playing away or at home versus Nondis has never been easy. And this is simply because Nondis on the other side have quite a number of players who've played over their high school, no, their college rugby at Kenyatta University, the likes of the captain Steve Odhiambo. You have Moses Begi. You have quite a number of boys who are going back home to play against their former sides. Now, this will offer an opportunity for Nondis to have a look at themselves because Nondis so far as taking claim to be part of that mid-table battle. And this is that battle that we've been talking about. That we have battles that uh, tend to appear within the Kenya Cup League. We have that mid-table battle. We also have that top-table battle, and then we have the relegation battle. Now, Black Blood versus Nondis is a mid-table battle and a strong, strong game for both sides. And to be honest, Michael, this is a tough game to call. I don't know who you would choose for this match day.
Unpopular opinion, I'll go for Nondis pulling off the win over Black Blood. Reason being that slight edge in experience, and with the likes of Moses Begi and Steve Odhiambo, they know what to expect from Blood and will definitely be channeling that information to the rest of their teammates. For Blood, well, um, they'll put their best foot forward, but it's Nondis running off with the victory at KU.
I guess I'll speak for Blood on this one. One you there will definitely stand up. We've really, and I speak as being part of Blood because I have been part of Blood before. They have transitioned in a strong way in terms of their forwards. They can now compete. They can match any other top side. Now that is an opportunity for them to once again stand up against a very strong non side, but playing at home, Michael, I would give them a slight and a narrow opportunity to win. They've shown that they're able to play at home and beat top sides. They've already beaten Impala at home. I'm not sure Impala is a top side as we speak, but
You
they
said
have
it,
been
not
able.
me.
Yes, I did. Now, it's an opportunity for them. A strong indication that Black Blood are going to get a win. I don't think it's going to be a bonus point victory, but a slight win nonetheless.
Okay. Now there's a match that's quite interesting. A former KCB coach is taking his team to play against a side coached by a former Mwamba player. KCB and Mwamba meet in match day 4. Now, Oliver Mangeni, if you may not know it, obviously had a stint at KU Black Blood, obviously also had a stint at Mwamba RFC. He is a current KCB head coach. Mwamba, on the other hand, coached by Mark Mshila, started his club rugby at Mwamba, had stints in Mombasa, KCB, where he played for the rest of his career, becoming a coach. You can see there's so much history intertwined between these two sides. Darwin Mukidza on the KCB technical bench is also a former Mwamba player. I could go on with all these. Mwamba have Shaban Ahmed in their ranks. He's played for both sides. Well, away from that, KCB have started the season positively, as per Oliver Mangeni's view. 3 from 3. Mwamba, on the other hand, Malcolm Sheila at the start of the season said that his team was out to compete and not participate, but they've come and stuck in their opening 3 games. It has literally been a baptism of fire. Doesn't get any easier when they host second placed KCB this coming
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah, it doesn't get any easier. Now, responding to the sentiments from Mark Mshila, when he said he's going to compete, I'm pretty sure he has his work cut out. He knows the specific teams that he's going to compete against. But sadly, this is not that one team that he's going to compete against. Sorry to say that, simply because they're worlds apart in terms of their programs. KCB matches, they're a bit of rebuilding with the new technical bench and a couple of signings left, right, and center, are still a formidable side. Remember, they're the losing finalists from last year's competition. We have quite a number. They have a solid squad, a deep squad. They can name 1 to 23, again repeat 1 to 23, again repeat 1 to 23. So that's the depth with which they are competing with this season. So once again, this is another game that I really fear for Mwamba. And sometimes when I keep on bringing out my fears, Michael, sometimes these fears turn out to be reality. And this is one of those games that I really fear for Mark Mishila, just simply because, remember, we are coming off a festive season.
So, do we
Besides the
call you
fact
the
that he
prophet of doom? Do we call you the prophet of doom?
could be, but it's doom for the losing side, but not doom for the winning side. So uh, put it in the middle. We are coming off a festive season. Um, Remember, if your program is not as strong as it should be, you're probably maybe 2 or 3 or 4 days into training, and then a team shows up. But if you have a strong setup, sort of that of which KCB have, which can be able to keep the players under check, even if they're breaking for the holidays, they know they have requirements, they have contractual requirements that really hold them uh, to account for where they've been and what they've been doing.
Hold up,
I,
hold
I,
up. I'm trying to see the funny side of this. If you want to get pissed, get pissed. So you're saying, you see, like KCB, they've got these mechanisms with which they can hold their players accountable to. While Mwamba, after the break, it's wase tukutane January. Sasa ukienda Krisi jo, we jua venye utakula, jua venye utajibamba. Is
yeah,
that what you
Michael,
say?
that's
Sorry,
exactly what I.
like I said, I'm
You
I'm I'm looking at the funny side of it.
you put it in the best words. I couldn't have picked the best words to use. And because we've been in that kind of setup before, and it's no offense, and I speak from experience because
And
I have.
also, again, allow me to interject. This one is totally off grid. But just the other day, this is the creativity or just the way your thoughts become random, like over Christmas. The other day, I was thinking the way even the most basic of clubs nowadays, they will organize lunch before a game. And it took me back to our playing days, both at Impala and at KCB, where the team manager would tell you, especially at KCB, we meet at Kencom at 1 p.m., well fed. Although there was
Samuel
an
said.
instance where somebody said "come well eaten," but that's a joke for another day. Anyway, anyway, proceed, proceed.
Yeah. So with the lack of the basic structure of just coming back of the festivities and getting back to the grind, I'm hopeful, and it's very good that Mwamba got a home ground. Michael, we really need to congratulate Mwamba for that
Absolutely,
step.
yeah. Congratulations to Mwamba, to Alvaso Nguru, Jason Braganza, the brains behind that initiative. Good for Mwamba going forward. I know they're putting out an initiative to help support the pitch, meet playing and professional requirements, and eventually host some of their programs and events. And it's good for them. Sorry, again, I jumped into your conversation mid sentence.
Yeah, it's because it elicits a lot of thoughts and emotion. Now, it's really good that Mwamba have some stability in terms of knowing where they can train, where they'll train. Now, KCB, on the other hand, know where they'll train, know what times they're supposed to train. They have a clear strength and conditioning plan. They have a clear nutrition plan from their coaches. They have, and that's the disparity, and that is the difference between our league, in our league, sorry, not between our league, in our league, in that you have those sides that have and those sides that don't have. Now, this case brings me back to Mwamba, and I really fear for Mwamba because KCB will come off the blocks with a statement of intent. Remember, they are not number one simply because they're trailing in terms of points, and they'll be looking at this game as an opportunity for them to really pile some points on the scoreboard. So, a comfortable victory for KCB, a bonus point victory, and could be an embarrassing afternoon.
Okay. Final game of the weekend. Kisumu hosting the South Coast Pirates in Kisumu City. Walter, I am backing Kisumu up for their first win of the season. Ask me why.
Michael, why?
I think the fatigue factor will be huge in this particular game, and it will be something that will cost the South Coast Pirates. Look, we're just coming off the festive season. Fitness levels may have dipped, and then you have to make over 700 kilometers of travel to Kisumu, play against Kisumu. Kisumu is hot and humid this time of the year. Those factors alone are enough for Kisumu to win the game. Now, the 80 minutes on the pitch, they have to be aware of that. And this is a victory for Kisumu on a silver platter.
It should look like a victory on the offing for Kisumu. It should really feel like this is an opportunity for them. One of the many games that probably they would have earmarked as the fixture list came out as a winnable game, a game that could decide their fate at the tail end of the season on who gets the cut and who gets to stay at top. So I strongly feel that Kisumu have made a couple of signings. We're looking at a total of around 8 to 10 new players. The travel factor, like you pointed out, is a massive factor in all this. And also, there is the fact that South Coast are really loud on social media, bro, and they've really rubbed quite a number of teams in the wrong way. If you get my point, and Kisumu would be.
Jo Kisumo are loud in person, not social media. But
Yes,
proceed.
yes.
Yeah.
And now this will offer an opportunity for Kisumu to get some points on the scoreboard and a few points on the league standings, Michael. Now, I,
And
I,
George
I
Jakadadi should be around for that game.
he's
I think
around.
Jakadadi should
He's
be around
around.
for that game. Oh my
He is
goodness.
around.
Yeah.
One got a day is around. One got a day is around. Crino is around. So
Yeah.
uh, I don't see Kisumu losing this one. Much as I would really think South Coast would put up a fight. I don't see how they beat Kisumu at home. I played Kisumu at home when it needed them to win. They will win. The conditions are not going to be easy, both on and off the pitch. Remember, we've had instances where Kisumu are getting banned because of fan behavior and all that. So there's quite a lot that is at stake, and I'm hoping that Kisumu can be able to handle emotions both on and off the pitch. But Michael, this one I'll definitely give it to Kisumu FC.
So there goes the wager that I wanted to place. I was hoping you'd go against that, and then we do a beer bet, and
No,
then
no, okay.
whoever
Listen,
loses, whoever loses, we show up with the beers next week. But that notwithstanding, let's both show up with a beer next week. It's not that we're promoting a brand,
Yes,
it's just that
yes.
it was on offer.
Let's. Yes, yes, yes. That I
Yeah.
agree with you. Next
And we're also,
episode, next.
yeah. But also guys, drink responsibly. Sisi si walevi, tunapenda tu beer yetu.
Watatuuliza wapi taska yetu.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, there's a, hey, the story for Kisumu bana, you got the club. If ukikaa mbaya utaulizwa wewe wapi taska yangu. But anyway,
Wapi taska yangu wewe? Auoni
mm,
tuko wawili.
tuko wawili na wewe nakunywa taska
Tuko
light.
wawili.
Anyway,
Yeah, so Michael, away from that, a very interesting opening round of fixtures for the 2025 Kenya Cup calendar. I, s- I match of the weekend. Which would be the match of the weekend for you out of those fixtures we've talked about?
KU versus Nondis is the game of the weekend.
Okay. KU versus Nondes. So we,
Mm.
I would say Kisumu versus South Coast to me would be the match of the weekend because it
A lot at
offers an
stake.
opportunity. Yes, yes, yes. It offers an opportunity for either side to really show what they're made of, really. However, we could look at Kenyatta University and Nondis as a very very strong fixture. That mid-table fixture is something to look out for. The Ngong Road Derby has really gone down the pecking order. There's not much that you can say about Ngong Road nowadays in terms of rugby. I'm sorry to say that, but it's still a fixture across the fence. But we're also talking about the
Still a good
clubhouses. There's
social
quite a
event. Still a good social
yeah,
event.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
Uh, but Impala also have to really improve in terms of their clubhouse. They've lost there already.
No, you speak, you speak, you speak. Me, I'll not abduct you. I'll not abduct you. You speak, you speak. Me, it's just me. My lips are sealed. You will not
Please,
you will not be abducted. Hey,
please
ongea.
don't abduct. But what I'm saying is Queens have really improved in terms of the infrastructure. You can see they have a better clubhouse, so they can say they are already 1-0 into the weekend. But now Impala, with their rebuilding, and there's no richer club in this country than Impala Club because of the former boys, the old boys. They've done quite a lot in terms of producing former legends and greats of the game and people who can really back them. So with their rebuilding, I'm not really putting them away. I'm just saying that Impala have quite a journey this season with a new coach, with a new setup, with a new structure, with just trying new things. And it's going to be a while for them to get a foothold in the league. So let's look out for the weekend. Let's go out and enjoy the social aspect of the game.
Okay, social aspect of the game is gonna be enjoyed. Now, as we come to a close, what do you want to see happen in 2025 locally and internationally in the rugby scene?
Well, Michael, I have so much this year for myself in terms of what I want and what I'm looking forward to. I got selected to head or spearhead nationwide reforms. We are we've done a small steering committee that is looking to reform the nationwide league. We've um, we've pointed out that we are the largest league. We are the league with the biggest reach in terms of position in the country. You will get nationwide rugby played anywhere on a Saturday across the republic. We have the numbers in terms of the clubs that apply their trade in the nationwide league. And we also have the numbers in terms of the players that on a match day that can congregate and say that they're playing nationwide league. So we want to really build the product. We want to put out ourselves out there to the corporate world in terms of looking for meaningful partnerships, looking for sponsorship, looking for partnerships, and actually making the game from the grassroots vibrant. So that is something I'm really looking forward. And if I can be able, or we can be able as nationwide league to spearhead the changes that we want at grassroots level, then the ripple effect will be felt up top in terms of the quality of players that move up the leagues. The quality of rugby that is played lower leagues will definitely determine what happens up top. So, and you know, all these players that play in Kenya Cup have to have found a way to those Kenya Cup sides through nationwide. And it's important that you get full baked players, not half baked players, in terms of who you get to recruit at the tail end. So that is what I want, and that is what I'm looking forward to in the local aspect of the game. Now, internationally, I'm looking forward to the Kenya Simbas getting a foothold and actually discovering a brand of rugby themselves for them to play and actually execute in a way that watching Kenya play Uganda a few weeks ago, and I had an opportunity to call that game. Michael, that was one of the most frustrating games I've ever watched at home versus Uganda. Uganda were about to beat Kenya at home. So these are not things that we take lightly. And some of us actually get hurt when Uganda comes really so close to us in terms of performances. So I'm looking forward to a year where the Kenya Simbas can be able to get a strong foothold in the African continent, and hopefully they can be able to mount a good challenge for the Rugby World Cup 2027. For the sevens, I am looking forward to a year where we are able to finish in the top eight, and I'm hopeful and optimistic that Kevin Bling Wambua, Steve Sewe, and Louis Kisia and Andrew Monde, the lads who've been entrusted with that responsibility, can be able to keep their heads in that project and take us to where we really want to be, which is amongst the top eight sides at the tail end of 2025. For the women, Michael, nothing will really make me happier on the face of the earth this year, if not the women qualifying for the the HSBC World Rugby 7 Series, courtesy of winning or even coming second in the Challenger Series this year. So the job is really cut out, Michael. It's very clear that investment has been made. We have quality in terms of the players that we have, and we need to mount a challenge. And I'm looking forward to that.
Great. Those are great insights. And this has been episode 19 of 254 Rugby. We are on 113 subscribers as we start the year. Thank you to each one of you who's subscribed. We obviously are looking to grow the numbers, and that means more consistency for us. So, on a personal note, I'd like us to be more consistent, have more variety in terms of what we put out, and definitely we are going to do that. When it comes to the game of rugby locally, I just want to see more efficient and effective administration of the game, both on and off the pitch, right from how we do our fixtures to how we manage our teams and results, and let it trickle from top down. Let's know when our national teams are playing. Let's know when we've got events. Let's know what it costs. Let us know what merchandise is available, where you can get the tickets, those sorts of things. On the international front, I'd like to see a lot more opportunities for countries, the likes of the Kenyas, Zimbabwe's. I'd like to see us rethink how we do the Rugby Africa Cup. But on a more personal note, I'd like to see the New Zealand All Blacks back to their supreme best. I know it's a long shot, but as a diehard, that's it. Well, Walter, it's been great hosting you on 254 Rugby episode 19. We definitely are going to compare notes about the weekend matches. Any parting shot?
No, really, nothing much from me. I want to wish everyone taking part this weekend all the best as they run out onto the pitch. And the fans, come out and support your teams. Let's start off the year on a very strong foot.
All right. Thank you guys, and catch you later.